Welcome to TiTalks, my wellness podcast. Thank you for joining me for episode 3. And if you're here for the very first time, I send you a warm welcome. This podcast is to simply encourage, empower, and enlighten my listeners. There's so much going on in the world today, so I just want to be that voice of inspiration, hope, encouragement. I want to help you shift your mindset to a positive point of view. So, thank you again for joining me, and let's dive right in to episode 3. Today, we're talking about following your bliss. Now, I want to share this quote with you about bliss. It simply states, bliss isn't happiness, it's alignment. It's calm, deeply satisfied, peace, joy, contentment. Bliss isn't to be compared to pleasure, because although pleasure feels good, it's short term. And it's not simply excitement. Although excitement is high energy, it is also temporary. And we can't confuse bliss with happiness, because happiness comes and goes. Bliss is grounding. It's steady. It's not everything going perfectly, but it's feeling whole and at peace within yourself, regardless of what's going on around you. Now, when I express following your bliss, many of you may ask, okay, how? Well, it's getting in alignment with that deep satisfaction. Getting in alignment with contentment. A lot of times we go through life and we are not listening to our inner truth. We're working jobs that we hate. We're in relationships that stress us to the core. We're saying okay to things when we're really screaming no on the inside. And that is taking us out of alignment. But we're not stuck. We can always wake up and decide to make a change. And the way that you honor that change is by paying attention to what gives you joy, what excites you, but also what drains you, what makes you feel stressed. Our body is always speaking to us, but we're not always listening. Sometimes those digestive issues or that unsettling feeling in your gut, that anxiousness, that's your body telling you you're out of alignment. Sometimes those constant headaches, that tightness that you feel in your chest is a reminder that you are doing something that your body is not in agreement with. But one sure way that we can get connected and in alignment with our bliss is by listening to what our body is telling us. I recall a time when I was working a very stressful job. I knew it was time to go when the job started to interfere with my sleep. I would literally have anxiety when I would think about my workload. And when I put in that notice, I was reconnected with peace, calmness, and a satisfaction with life. But I realized it was all worth it for my mental health. The job was having a toll on my body and my mind. I had to listen to my body and how it responded in certain situations, with certain people, in certain environments. Your body will give you an uneasy feeling when you're not safe, when it's time to leave, the job, the relationship, the friendship. Your body will let you know. But it's up to you to listen. And I know listening is not always the easiest thing to do, especially when we've developed attachments. But you have to push past your emotions and you have to do what's best for you. It's about self-preservation. And so many times we sacrifice our own happiness and well-being to accommodate others. But if you want to get in alignment with your bliss, that's one of the first changes that you have to make. Honor yourself. Do what's best for you. Another thing that I had to do was explore my personal interests. Sometimes life can be so busy and we are weighted down with responsibilities. We're taking care of what we need to do, but we're making very little time for ourselves and what makes us feel good naturally. Yeah, you may go and hang out with your friends every now and then, but how are you feeding your soul? What lights you up? What gives you that fire and that drive? What's a personal passion that you had all of your life, but you maybe haven't had the time to nurture? On my journey to following my bliss, I had to rediscover these things because with life, its responsibilities, things that I cared about, they eventually got placed on the back burner. But when I decided to put myself first, I began to explore things that I enjoyed. I love spending time in nature, journaling by the water, and then eventually those journals turned into poems, those poems turned into songs, and now I'm actually performing them. So how can you nurture that thing that you have left behind? That thing that you've neglected for so long? You see, we were all given an assignment here on earth. When we were created with a specific purpose, a divine reason for being here. Many of us have discovered that purpose. Some of us have an idea, and many of us are still trying to figure it out. Wherever you are, I want you to know that it's okay. You just have to make intentional steps to discovering your purpose. And to do that is not only just simply listening to your body and listening to what you innately feel, but it's also being intentional about your time with your Creator. It's in the silence that we get the answers. There's a quote that I like that says, "When I pray, I communicate with God. But when I meditate, God communicates with me." So often, we make our requests known, we say our prayers, and we go on about our way. But we don't always take time to sit in silence and get the guidance, the direction, the answers, or the help that we need, that we can only get in stillness. Sometimes we depend on our leaders in the church. We depend on readers, friends, people to help us. But some answers you will only receive in stillness. So following your bliss will require you getting comfortable with making time for yourself. Sometimes it may be uneasy to sit with yourself. Because some people may not be ready to face the truth. And there's no judgment here. The truth isn't always an easy pill to swallow, but it is necessary. It is necessary to be honest with yourself about how you really feel, what's working and what's not working, and what you need to do to make the change in your life. It's easy to complain and feel like you're stuck and blame others for your situation. But one of the most powerful things that you can do is to look in the mirror and tell yourself that you can change your life. And you do that by honoring your truth, speaking positively and thinking positively, and exploring those things that really light your soul on fire. This reminds me of a quote that I stumbled across years ago, and it talked about our gifts. The quote simply states, "Your gift is the thing that you do the absolute best with the least amount of effort." You see, we all were given a gift as well as an assignment. And if you really sit and think about that thing, what is something that just flows to me with ease? I naturally know how to do this. I'm naturally good at this. I didn't have to be taught this. I just enjoy it and I do it with ease. For me, it was speaking. I have been an inspirational speaker for the last 7 years, but I'll be honest, when I first started, it was terrifying. My first engagement, my heart was beating so loud, I felt like they could hear it through the microphone. But the more I did it, the easier it became. And even when I did it with fear, I still flowed through it with ease because it was a natural gift to empower, to encourage. It's something I've been doing since I was a little girl. I've always been that person my friends could come and talk to. And to this day, I am still being a beacon of light and hope. That's my gift. I had to nurture it. I had to spend time to identify what it was. And I had to disconnect from people, things, environments that drained me of the energy needed to pursue the gift. So what is your gift? What is that thing that you're naturally good at? How much time do you spend nurturing that gift? Yeah, some gifts may require you to step out of that shell, and there may be some fear-based thinking attached to it, but you can overcome those thoughts. You can tell yourself that you're capable. You can remind yourself that you're confident, powerful, and able, and you can show up. What if the life that you dreamed of, the goals that you desired, what if they were on the other side of fear? What if they were on the other side of stillness? What if they were on the other side of you listening to your body and honoring your truth? Today, I just want to remind you that you are more powerful than you give yourself credit for. At any moment, you can make a decision to change your life for the better. But you have to honor your truth. Are you really happy where you are? Are you really happy with whom you're with? Do you desire more from your workplace? for your career, for your life. It's attainable. Don't get caught up in the time that it may take or the work that may have to go into it. Remind yourself that it's attainable. And if you make intentional steps, you'll get there a lot sooner. I want you to take a deep breath with me. Deep from the core with a slow and gentle release. With that breath, I want you to give yourself an affirmation. Affirmations are powerful. I love working with them because they help you rewire your brain. You see, we tell ourselves a lot of lies, but you can shift your perspective by telling yourself the truth. Sometimes our brain tells us that we can't do it. Sometimes our brain tells us that we are not smart enough, that we don't have the energy or the drive, or that we'll never get it done. But you can change that narrative. So with a deep breath and a slow and gentle release, I invite you to give yourself an empowering affirmation. Reprogram your own mind. The affirmation that I offer today is simple. I am capable of living the life of my dreams. I am powerful. I am confident, and I am fully supported. Take a deep breath in with a slow and gentle release. I'm rooting for you, and I hope that you are rooting for yourself. Thank you for joining me for this episode of TiTalks, and I look forward to you joining me for episode 4.